Hello, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I got another question from you guys, and it is Günther Venriet that asks, I hope to find a large, healthy climbing rose with a 10 out of 10 fragrance, like Goethe or Velvet Fragrance. It seems these rose companies don't create that much, and he goes on to explain why he can't really find really fragrant climbing roses and why they don't really seem to be produced. And this is a very good observation. It is one I have made myself countless times, buying a lot of different climbing roses. You always notice that they are not that fragrant compared to shrub roses or tea hybrids. But why is that so? Well, today we'll go over that. So, the first thing you have to think about is energy balance. When you create a rose that has to send up shoots 3 meters in height and that has to create all this green foliage, all that takes energy, and the plant can only spend energy in one place. If it uses energy on something, it will forgo something else. That is what is known in microeconomics as opportunity cost. There's an opportunity cost to breathing for one certain trait. And with climbing roses, it is that you are spending a lot of energy on the foliage, on creating these long, tall stems. So a lot of energy is going to that. The opportunity cost is, of course, that roses also need energy to create rose oil. They need energy to create fragrance. And when you have a rose that is using all this energy to create these 3-meter tall stems for you guys because you want that rose to cover your house, then that can quickly come with the downside of something else, because as I said before, you can only spend the energy in one place, and that is often a trade-off. I know some roses can be a bit of generalists and seem to do it all, but in nature in general you have to use energy in one spot, and if you use it in that spot, you can't use it in another. And that is one of the problems with climbing roses. They really need to use a lot of energy to get up to that height, to create all this foliage, all this beautiful foliage for you guys. And that process also means that there's less energy available in the rose to create rose perfume, to create rose oil. So that is the first main point, that these roses tend to need a lot of energy for that process of creating this climbing nature. But there's also one more thing, I think, and that is the rose family. Let's go to the next one here. When you're creating climbing roses, you have 3 main rose families you use for that climbing trait. You have multiflora, you have victoriana, and you have musk roses, or moschata, if you like that name better. Multiflora and victoriana nearly has no scent, very light scent. Musk roses do have a bit of scent. Some of them can actually have a very decent scent, but they all have the same kind of scent nearly. That is more like this musky, spicy note to it. So when you are breathing these climbing roses, if you breathe with multiflora or victoriana, you're actually breathing it with something that barely has any scent on that side of the parentage. And then you really have to hope to bring that fragrance into that rose from the outside by breathing something else into it. And of course, this is going to hurt the scent. It will be like if you're breathing something with one very unscented rose and then another scented rose. So of course, this can hurt the scent when you have some rose families where scent is not that present. So that is one other point, that maybe sometimes you can be lucky. You have an ordinary rose that produces a spore that tends to climb more. You see this a lot with Austin roses, where they don't really know if they behave like a bush or like a spot of a more climber, and they can kind of do both. But many times you'll try to interbreed with multiflora or victoriana or something like that, and it'll hurt the fragrance. And the issue, if you have the sport, then you have that energy issue, as I mentioned before. Like it most likely won't be as fragrant as if it has just stayed like a shrub or like a tea hybrid. So I hope I'm illustrating here what I'm trying to get at, that reaching a certain height requires a lot of energy. And what happens when rose breeders focus on climbers that make a very strong perfume? Well, we tend to get these obelisk kind of climbers where they get to like 2 meters or 220 or 250. And they don't really tend to reach all the way up to 3 meters or 5 meters. They tend to be under 3 meters tall when you have these very fragrant varieties, because suddenly you're breathing for a different energy process, and that energy process is rose oil. And rose oil is often not the same as breathing for vigor. So you end up with these very wonderful little obelisk plants that can be very fragrant. But then the issue is you can't really use them to cover an entire house wall, and many people want that. So no matter what the breeder does, they're kind of in a dilemma for what they want to create. So yeah, and let's just have a look at some of these. As you can see, climbing roses can cover an entire wall, and the process of that is very energy extensive. They use a lot of energy doing it. And that means they have to save energy somewhere else. Is it in the flowering? Is it in the fragrance? Is it in the leaf health? The fact that they have to grow so tall is very energy intensive, and not all roses will be able to do that while delivering an extremely powerful fragrance. So I'm sorry to say this, but often when it comes to climbing roses, most people will probably have to accept that they will never go to 10 out of 10. They will most likely, if they're really good, be stuck somewhere between 8 and 9, simply because a climbing rose has so many other things to use energy on for that really tall growth process. And that is the caveat with climbing roses, I guess. They can have a hard time becoming as fragrant as the most fragrant of the more normal flowering roses, like shrub roses, tea hybrids, grandiflora, if I can pronounce it, and Polyantha and many of the others. Maybe not Polyantha. Polyantha is not that fragrant, but really, you guys know what I'm trying to say here. There's two energy processes going on, and if you make these very large plants, it is not for certain that you'll get a lot of rose oil production also, because energy can only be used in one place. Opportunity cost. So yeah, that was it for today, guys. And again, thanks to Günther Van Riet here for asking this question. And really, I don't think you'll ever find a climbing rose that will be as fragrant as Velvet Fragrance. I personally have been looking for it for a long time, and I have easily gone through 30 plus varieties of what should be very fragrant climbing roses, and I have never found anything that has gone above a 9 out of 10 for me. And I think you should consider yourself extremely lucky just getting an 8.5 out of 10 on fragrance when it comes to climbing roses, because they do have that caveat where they have to produce all this leaf and all this height. And that does take a toll on all the factors that the plant is doing, like rose oil production. So yeah, hope this makes sense for you guys out there, and take care.